Hi guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. And today I'm going to be talking to a special guest here. His name is Brian, goes under the handle Wick Goes Carnivore. I'm sure a lot of people in the community would know him, would know his face, and will know about his YouTube channel. So welcome, Brian. Thank you for coming along.
All right. Thank you for having me on. Hello, everybody.
And so it's good morning here and good evening where Brian is in the United States. So this is the international connections in the carnivore community. So it's lovely to connect worldwide with like-minded people. So what I really wanted to do today, Brian, is to get to know you a bit more, know your story, to find out a little bit more as to how you've come across the carnivore diet and what your experiences have been. So if you don't mind taking the floor and tell us about yourself.
All right. Sure. Thank you again for having me on your channel. So my journey really goes back quite a way. So I'll start with I'm 50 years old. So I've been around for a while. But in high school, I played sports and I was really, really thin. 6'4", but I weighed like 170
Mm.
pounds. So I looked like a toothpick out there, right? Really, really thin. Um, as I got into my 20s, though, I started to put on a little bit of weight. I did drink alcohol quite a bit back then,
Mm.
and I wasn't quite as active. And when you're not as active and you're eating the wrong things, it starts to catch up on you, right? So by the time I believe I was 28, I was diagnosed with high blood pressure, and I went on blood pressure medication. And
Mm.
I'm trying to think. Let's see. So it was about 30. I had my first child. Actually, I had twins, boy and girl twins. And then 2 years
Wow.
later, I had another daughter. So I've got 3 kids. And when my wife got pregnant with the twins, we both gained weight. She gained weight as,
Mm.
being a pregnancy. And I
Mm.
gained weight as the supporting husband that also ate a lot of food that he should have been eating. So the bad
Yeah.
thing was that as she had the kids, she started to lose the weight, and I did not because was eating bad and just continued to eat bad, right? So, really for the longest time, I just was overweight, out of shape, throughout my 30s and into my 40s, just not very healthy, I guess, right? So this kind of takes me to 2017. So at that point, I was 43 years old, and I said to myself, "Okay, I'm 43. I'm really overweight. I think I was like 360 pounds at that point.
Mm.
Um, just not doing very well. I definitely had the high blood pressure. For the most part, at that point, that was all that I had going on. That was bad, but um, I knew I needed to do something. So I
Mm.
looked online and I found this one diet plan, and I started doing it, and it sort of, to an extent, was somewhat limiting carbs. Definitely like limiting foods that were higher in sugar.
Mm. Mm.
Limiting soda, that kind of thing. Wasn't getting rid of that stuff, but it was limiting that kind of stuff. But it also was very calorie restricted. So I
Mm.
was doing about 1,500 to 1,800 calories, or what at least at that time I knew would be what was considered calories, right? I
Mm.
don't necessarily believe in the calorie thing anymore, but at that
Mm.
time, that's what I was thinking. And so I would eat, like, I guess 3 times a day. They were really small meals, a little bit of meat, a little bit of vegetables. One of my meals would be a shake that had a lot of baby spinach in it.
Ooh.
Yeah. Um, so I lost a bunch of weight. right? But I wasn't feeling any better.
Mm.
I also did workouts, and so I'm eating this low number of low amount of food, low number of calories. I'm working out, pretty strenuous workouts, and after some months, I don't know, 9 months or so, I just my body couldn't sustain it anymore because I was hurting my body, right? I wasn't getting
Mm,
enough
mm,
nutrients and so forth and whatever. Um, so I kind of slacked off from that diet and I started eating stuff that I was known to eat for the last 20, 30
mm.
years. And I quickly gained all of the weight back. So now we're in 2018 and I coached youth football. And
Mm.
so this is in the United States. This is actual football, not soccer. Just
Yeah.
so it's American football, not soccer. So just kind
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
explain that. But anyway, so we had it was going to be like an assessment for like the beginning of the season, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of felt that something was wrong, and with checking my blood pressure and so forth, I noticed that it kept coming up irregular, and my
Mm.
blood pressure and my heart rate was really high. Um, so I talked to my wife and she's like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to go to the ER." So I didn't end up going to the assessment. I went to the ER, and I was diagnosed with atrial fibrillation, also known as AFib. So
Yeah.
that was 2018. At that point, for the first time, I had to meet with a cardiologist, and the cardiologist talked to me a little bit. My father had AFib, so it was a genetic thing, is what he said.
Mm.
Your father had it, that's why you
Mhm.
got it. Your son's probably going to get it, that type of thing. And basically, there wasn't much I could do about it. I could try and lose some weight because I was overweight, and that might help some. But overall, it was going to get worse over time, and I was going to have more episodes. And he said, this is the first episode you've had of it. Luckily, they admitted me into the hospital, and they said that night, if you aren't by the morning out of it, we're going to do the what do they call it? Um, the thing where they shock your heart back into rhythm. I forget what
Uh,
it's called
uh,
now.
ablation?
No,
No,
not
no.
ablation.
No, no,
I can't remember. I don't remember, but it's I forget the term, but basically it's where they shock your heart back into rhythm. So they said they'd have
yeah.
to do that in the morning, but sometime during the middle of the night, I naturally went out of it. So I didn't have to have that procedure done.
Mm.
Um, so he said, I don't know when this is going to happen again. It could happen in a couple weeks. It could happen a couple years from now, but you're gonna, it's gonna happen again. He's like, it's a matter of when, and it's just gonna get worse. So I think I went about a year, and then it happened again, and then it started happening more frequently. Um, and it got to the point that I was having them probably every couple weeks.
Mm.
And one of them I could not get out of it, so they actually had to go in and do the procedure where they shock you out of, or shock your heart back into rhythm.
Mm, mm.
So they did that. And let's see, so this is probably, we're getting into like the 2023 range, I guess. 2022
Mm.
range. Boy, I can't remember. 2022, I guess it was. So it's 2022 at this point, and I'm having pretty much 2 to 3 episodes a week at this point.
Mm.
Um, Again, they say, you could lose weight and that could help. I still hadn't done anything about my weight, right? Like I tried a
Mm.
few things, but nothing ever really seemed to work. But he said, even that you can't really stop this, you need to be on medication and so forth. So I went on a blood thinner and a medication to lower my heart rate.
Mm.
And this was on top of the blood pressure medication I was taking. And we started talking at that point about possibly an ablation. where they
Alright.
actually go in and freeze the
Yep.
spots in your heart that could be
Yep.
causing that.
Yep.
And around that time, I was as heavy as I've been, probably tipping around 370. Um, I feel I felt really depressed. I didn't have any energy. I'd sit on the couch and just watch TV or play video games. I didn't feel like really doing anything, right?
Mm.
Um, just yeah. The other thing, I guess, I didn't really mention this at the beginning, but when I did all that strenuous workout in like 2017, I was always sore. Like I'd be so sore. I'd miss a workout or two, or maybe for a week or something, because I hurt a part of my body, right? Like my knee or something, and it flared up on me and was swollen or something, right? So I'd be
Mm, mm,
working out, I'd have knee braces on, I'd have ankle braces, probably wrist
mm,
braces, that kind of thing. The other thing then, as I got into 2022, was that along with the AFib, I started having problems with my big toes.
mm,
And the first thing the doctor said was, "Oh, it's probably gout." But when
mm.
they tested for it, it wasn't. So they sent me to a specialist, and they did x-rays and so forth, and they determined that I had arthritis really bad in the joints of my big toes. Um, and at that point, with everything that was going on, I just knew that I had to do something. So I started looking around for online again for different types of diets. I wanted something that actually I could, continue to do this time and not do it for a
Mm,
few months and then, stop and so forth. And I think the first person I found was Dr. Barry, talking about keto and then talking about carnivore and so forth. Um, and I decided at that point that I would start with keto and that's what I was going to do. And I continued to watch videos. At that point, I ran into Dr. Sean Baker, Professor Bart Kay, um, Dr. Anthony Chafee, and so forth, right? Found some
mm,
of the people out there like Carnivore Quest, Dave Mack, those types of people that just kind of started up doing carnivore. I think, well, Carnivore Quest had been doing it for a little while, but Dave Mack
mm,
just started up
mm.
at that point. And so I did a couple months of keto while I'm watching their videos and starting to think like, I think I just want to go full into carnivore.
Yeah.
And I did lose a little bit of weight, like 10 pounds or so, maybe 20 pounds at the most with keto over like over a 3 month period. But I still didn't see any change in terms of like soreness in my body and that kind of stuff. So in July of 2022, I started carnivore. And I would say within the first couple of weeks, I noticed that my pain was better. I used to have back
Mm,
pain, and I had back pain to the point that I could only sleep in bed for a few hours, and then I'd go to sit on a recliner the rest of the night.
mm,
And now, after a few weeks, I was sleeping the entire time in bed. Um, Within like a month or so, I noticed that I didn't have like the arthritis issues in my toes anymore. And to kind of tell you a little bit more about that, like I would get a flare up in one of my feet, and you never knew which one it was going to be, where it would get really swollen, and I basically could barely walk for like a week to 2 weeks at a time. And I was the guy, I'd be sitting there, foot up on a
yeah.
couple pillows, icing it, and taking Motrin and whatever, and that it still would take like a week or two to get rid of it, right? And after that first month on carnivore, I have not had any flare ups anymore of my feet, my toes. The arthritis seems to
Yeah.
be completely gone. I don't have any of the back pain anymore. Um, Within a couple of months, I noticed my energy levels were better. I noticed that I had before, kind of mild depression that was gone. Um, I would say within probably a good 6 to 9 months, I was at the point that I really would want to go out and do things. And for my
Mm,
wife, that was like different because every time she'd ask, her, like, "Oh, you want to go do something?" I'd be like, "No, not really," you know. And now it was like, "Yeah, I'll let's go do something." And she'd be like, "Really? You never want to do anything?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So those types of things all changed for me, right? It was like completely life changing. But the key was the AFib.
Mm,
I am now, let's see, so March 1st was, I think that would be considered 20 months on the carnivore diet.
mm, mm.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Okay, so it's 21 months. I think it's 21 months. It's 20, 21 months, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're now
Yeah.
halfway through that month as well. I haven't had a single episode since about 2 weeks into the carnivore diet.
Wow.
And I was having 2 to 3 episodes a week.
Mm,
Um, yes, I've lost weight. I
mm.
was like 370. So I at my best I got to 290. So maybe
Wow.
285 range. So
Wow.
80 to 85 pounds. I'm a little
Wow.
bit higher than that right now. Um, but only like, 5 pounds or so, right? It's not much of a difference. I did have one lapse that happened at Christmas time, not this past year, but the year before that, the first Christmas time. And it's funny. I started in July of 2022. I
Mm.
hit I hit like November, actually even before that, like October, I had lost like 60, 65 pounds already.
Wow.
Then I hit that Christmas time period and I gained like 20 to 30 pounds again. And I got to January and I said, you know what? I'm starting to feel certain things like my wrists sometimes would start to hurt a little bit. Like it didn't flare up or anything, but it would just start to hurt a little bit. And I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
I need to get back to it. I need to get strict again. And I quickly lost that 20 to 30 pounds again.
Mm.
Um, and then over the next, several months, I got to the point that I got to like 80 to 85 pounds here of weight loss. And for the most part, I'm maintaining now. Um, so yeah, it's close to 2 years now. Um, my blood pressure is good. It's in good range now. I've lowered my medication, although I still do take medication. Um, I've kind of been afraid to take that final step of going completely off of it so far.
Yeah, of
So,
course. Yeah.
so there's that. But going back to this last fall of 2023. So this is now like a year, 3 months into the carnivore diet. Um, at my cardiologist appointment, which I would see him every 6 months, he was like, well, "You're looking great." You know, I hadn't had an episode. Um, he had me do like a 30-day test with a heart monitor to make
Mm,
sure
mm,
that there
mm.
wasn't anything going on that just wasn't being detected. Nothing was being detected. So he no longer felt that I was at risk, and I was able to get off of the blood thinner and so
Blood
forth.
thing? Mm.
Yep. Yep. So I no longer considered risk, higher risk for going into AFib and stroke and that kind of thing. And he said, I'd still like to see you again in like a year, but I don't need to see you again in 6 months. Just keep doing what you're doing. So that was great, And for me, that was completely life changing, not to have to be on that blood thinner anymore, because when I was
Yeah.
on it, like I was always worried about doing things that I was going to make myself bleed and so forth.
Yeah.
So that was huge. That was great relief. And that's probably the single best thing that has happened from carnivore for me. But there's
Mm.
so many things that I can point to, just the energy levels are better, and, happier, better mood, calmer person. Like I used to get upset really easily, and that just doesn't happen anymore, that kind of stuff. So a lot of those types of things. That's kind of in a nutshell the story with going to carnivore.
Wow. Brian, I'm smiling hard right now because it's you interviewed me in your channel, which I hope that the issues do resolve and you can upload that one. But I've never listened to anyone's story that really closely resonated to me, because a lot of what you experienced were things that I experienced too.
Hmm.
So it's like, yeah, it's just amazing. It's amazing. So many parallels. I mean, the heart issues I can totally relate to, and with taking medications. And again, and I say this in every interview, I'm just amazed by one lifestyle change that has just impacted, you know, someone's life like yours for the better. It still baffles me to this day, and I hear anecdotes all the time. So, well done, first of all.
Thank you.
Um, and um, going by, going back to your diet. So, you predominantly eat right now a carnivorous diet. Is that correct?
Yes. Um,
Mm,
I I don't always eat the same amount of times in a day.
mm,
What I kind of use is I use the Dr. Berry theory of
mm.
you eat until you're comfortably full,
Just,
and then you don't eat again until you are really truly hungry.
mm,
So it depends on what's happening. Like I most of the time, my first meal will be between like noon and 2 p.m., right? Somewhere in
yeah.
that range. And
Mm,
it depends on just what's happening, if I'm at home or whatever, and exactly how much I get to eat, if I get to truly fill myself up. If I
mm,
do, then I probably don't eat again that day. If I don't quite eat enough, I'll probably eat again like around 6, 7 p.m. And it'll probably be a
mm,
little bit of a smaller meal, and then that's it. Um, in my meals, like I I do like to eat chicken, like chicken wings,
mm,
pork, things like that, bacon. But I've always noticed that if I eat beef, I always feel better if I'm just eating beef.
mm, mm,
Um, so a lot of times I'll have some sort of a steak, like a ribeye or a New York strip or something like that, or ground beef, um, some sort of, burger patties, that kind of thing. I've been trying to eat a little bit more eggs, which I know isn't beef, but I've been trying to eat a little bit more eggs lately too.
mm,
But predominantly it's gonna be beef, and then
mm,
occasionally I'll have some chicken wings that I do like in an air fryer or something like that, or in the oven or something. Um,
mm,
or if because so I'm the only one at my house that does carnivore.
mm,
My wife doesn't do it, and we do go out to eat sometimes. So if we go out to eat
mm.
and it's not like a steakhouse, like a Texas Roadhouse or something, like if I go
Yeah,
there, yeah, I'm gonna get a steak. But if it's not something like that, sometimes I'll be like, you always put up with me. I'll go wherever you want to go. And then maybe they have like chicken wings or something like that, and I'll get that. Like, or if we'll go
yeah.
to Buffalo Wild Wings, that's a good one because they cook it, their chicken wings in tallow. They fry them in tallow. So
Oh,
I
cool.
will, so yeah, so I'll have chicken wings there or something. So there are times that I have other things
Mm,
and don't have beef, but I always seem to feel best when I have beef. There was a time period back in spring of 2023, so about a year
mm,
ago, that I went like a month and a half where basically I ate nothing but beef.
mm,
Um, and for the most part, I was OMAD at just one meal a day at that time period.
mm,
And I did lose a little bit of extra weight again. And I just felt great during that time period. Then I
mm.
started introducing chicken wings and stuff like that back in again. Seafood, I like shrimp. Sometimes I have like
Yeah,
crab legs, maybe salmon,
yeah.
that kind of stuff, right? Um, and it's okay because like I'm not necessarily doing lion diet or anything like that. I'm doing carnivore, and
Mm.
those are carnivore foods, right? So
Yes.
for me, that's okay. I like to have that variation sometime, but I predominantly most of the time I'm going to try and have beef, and that just seems to work the best for me. And the other thing I notice is with beef, I can get full more easily than eating chicken or pork or something like that.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, I'm the same too. I think beef is. I must have beef feel satiated, regardless of whatever other meats I'm eating. It's beef that really, gets me full. Very interesting. And so, do you feel? And this is just uh, I guess your thoughts around this, but do you feel like this is a diet that you can sustain?
Yeah, definitely. It's already been almost 2 years, and
Mm,
I I still feel like I can eat. I could eat a steak
mm,
every day.
mm.
Like I don't feel like I'm ever gonna get tired of eating those foods. And um, sometimes people ask me, they're like, "Well, don't you ever get sick of not being able to eat this or that?" Like potato chips or cake or something, right?
Yeah,
Or don't you feel like you're being too restrictive? And it's like, no, I don't think it's restrictive because I actually like what I'm eating and I feel great.
yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, I'll admit, I will have a piece of cake in a certain
Mm,
situation.
mm,
Like the last time I had a little piece of cake was probably my birthday in December. So that was like
mm.
3 months ago. And I had a little piece of cake then. And it was interesting because I was like, this doesn't taste as good as I thought it was going to. I don't even know why I'm eating
Yeah,
this, right?
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
so I will do things like that. And
yeah.
occasionally, like if we go to eat somewhere, I might have something I shouldn't, like a little bit of rice or something like that.
Mm,
But
mm,
for the most
mm,
part, it's pretty good, pretty strict. And when I'm strict with it,
mm,
I feel good and I like what I'm eating. So I don't see any reason to change. The other thing I didn't
mm,
mention that I should mention, before I started carnivore, really before I started keto, the blood work that I had done, my triglycerides were 274, which were on the high side.
mm. Yeah.
Um, the last time I had blood work done, which was probably like 9 months ago, I think, or something like that, they were 108.
Wow.
So
They dropped.
big
Mm,
difference. And that was when I was still on the AFib medication, that one of the side
mm.
effects was to raise your triglycerides. So they probably without that medication would have been under 100.
Wow, wow.
So big
Interesting.
difference with eating the right foods.
Huge, huge. Yeah, yeah. The reason I ask is, like sometimes we come across these, I guess, I wouldn't say barriers, but people that like to, obviously they're curious, and they want to ask questions. And one of the recent questions I've had from people who've watched my videos was, yeah, is this something that you can sustain? And 2 years is a long time to sustain a diet, and for you to say that you can continue doing this for a long time, you know, I totally agree. It's something that a lot of people say online is that they can just pretty much eat steak for the rest of their lives.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so I think that that's amazing. So I want to touch into other things in relation to your health. Do you do anything on top of the carnivore diet? Do you do any other things to optimize your health in that regards?
Yeah. So, it's funny because we've talked a little bit already, and we both follow Bart K, Professor Bart K,
Mm,
and
yeah,
Bart talks about certain things, and some of what I've been pushing lately kind of comes from what I learned from him.
yeah,
But I really feel like the carnivore diet is the proper human diet, and that's number
hmm,
one. That's like the biggest thing, right? Like above
yeah,
all, that's the big thing. Like you got to get your eating right. But after that, I think that there are four other things that are pretty um, pretty equally important for your
mm,
health, and actually fairly similar to things that you would say, but maybe not all exactly. Um,
mm,
so one of them is grounding yourself. I really believe in that, and walking barefoot
mm,
outside. Um, so that's something I try and do as much as I can. I'm also looking into getting a grounding mat. I
yeah,
was talking to Bart one time, and I was like, I sit in an office, and it's hard sometimes to get outside. And he's like, well, you know, I got this. I can't talk like him, but I got this mat that I use,
yeah,
and you can get as much grounding as you need with that. I'm like, that's a pretty good idea. So I've been looking into
Mm.
that. So I think I'm going to get myself a grounding mat that I can use while I'm working to help as well. Because also in the wintertime, which we're just kind of getting out of the winter, getting close to spring here in the US, but it's harder to get outside. So,
Mm.
it's
Yeah.
cold and so forth. So that's one of the things I'm looking at there to help with my grounding. But that is one of the things. Another thing also has to do with getting outside, and for me, that's sunlight. I feel that that
Mm.
is key to get the amount of vitamin D that you need for your immune system and
Mm.
so forth. And
Yeah.
it's so much better to get that from the sun than to try and take like a vitamin D supplement or something like that.
Mm. Mm.
So that's a second thing. And let's see, a third thing is exercise. Any kind of exercise, whatever exercise you can do. The best, I truly believe, is to do high intensity type of things, right? So high intensity interval training or whatever you can do there.
Mm.
Try and lift, if you're lifting weights, lift the heaviest that you can do, and
Mm.
do an intense workout, that type of thing. But for anybody that's watching and they're like, I can't do that type of thing, that's okay. Do what you can do. And
Mm.
here's the
Yeah.
other thing, like when I first started doing carnivore, I didn't really work out a whole lot. Um, and there's something to be said to making sure that you kind of get your body back into good health before you kind of go into doing too much. So
Yeah.
I would do some walking, but that was about it. And now I don't do it as much as I should, but now I'm at the point that I want to work out and lift heavy weights and that kind of stuff. But somebody else might be at the point that all they can do right now is walking or something, and that's
Mm.
okay. Or maybe you're in a wheelchair and you can just do like arm exercises and so forth, and that's okay. Whatever it is you can do, just get your body moving, do some sort of
Mm.
exercise, and that's just going to be so good for your overall health. And then the
Mm.
last thing, this has to do with a company called Cerule,
Mhm.
and it's basically their nutraceutical company, and they have some really good products to help out with some different things. Um, Kind of the flagship product is Stem Enhance Ultra, and I got it here somewhere, right here, so I can even show you
Come
Stem
prepared.
Enhance Ultra. There you go. If I got to put it in the camera
There you go.
properly. So
Yeah.
I started taking this stuff in April of 2023, so I'm basically at a year now. Um, and here's the best thing that I can tell you about this. Um, Going back to the winter of 2018, I was shoveling snow and, lifting up really high, trying to shovel on top of a car.
Mm.
Um, and my right shoulder started hurting. And it was to the point where like I couldn't really bring my arm up more than like here. I just
Mm.
can't get up higher. It really hurt really bad, that type of thing. Um, and my father had fallen off a ladder and landed on his shoulder, and he had very similar symptoms, and he had a rotator cuff injury and ended up having
Mm.
surgery. So I was pretty sure that it was a rotator cuff problem. Um, so I didn't want to go through the surgery and everything. So I never really did anything
Mm.
with it, and I just dealt with it. Right when I
Mm.
started doing carnivore, um, probably 6 months into carnivore, maybe yeah, about 6 months or so, I noticed that it was better.
Mm.
It still hurt. It still hurt.
Mm.
But like I could go like this, lift my arm up, and I could really feel it, but I could do that, right? And I could do certain things like push-ups or
Mm.
bench presses or something like that. And I would feel the pain. It would kind of hurt, but I could do that stuff, right? Then I started taking Stem Enhance Ultra, and within a few months, and it wasn't like right away, but within a few months, I realized that the pain was completely gone.
Wow.
And like now, look, I can do this with my arm, my shoulder. It does not hurt. There's no way 5 years ago I could have done that. No way.
Mm. Mm.
Um, you know, I contribute that carnivore diet, first of all, helps to get inflammation out of your body and helps with that kind of a thing. And then the Stem Enhance Ultra releasing more stem cells into your, your bone marrow, your blood, whatever, and allowing your body to do its thing, recreate cells and so forth, just did the rest, and
mm.
allowed me to recover. So I think it is kind of like a double thing, like carnivore and the stem
Yeah,
enhanced
yeah.
ultra together, just make it that powerful. Um, so that's something that I definitely do, is a stem enhanced ultra. And
Mm,
again, it's something that releases the stem cells from your body, or from your into your bone marrow, I should say. So as you get older, and I'm getting older, right? I'm 50 years old. So as you get older, um, your stem cells kind of get stuck and they don't get released and so forth. And Stem Enhanced Ultra helps to unstick that process and get more of the stem cells released. So, the longer you take it, the more that you take in a given day, so forth, it helps to release up to a certain point more of your stem cells. There's going to be like a theoretical, like it can't help after a certain point, right? Like you can only do so much more than what you could do before without it. But it helps, right? So I think that's a big thing. And there's other products that they have. One's called Plasma Flow, and Plasma Flow, I believe, helps to, other than like your blood circulation, which is part of it, but it helps that whole process with the Stem Enhance Ultra.
mm,
Um, so, and I can't remember the exact technical terms and so forth, but it basically helps those stem cells to move along in the body to find the spots
mm,
that it needs to attack to, renew
mm,
cells and so forth. And then I also take something called Cyactive, and that helps with, whole body inflammation, that kind of thing. So another thing that works well in, together with Carnivore, because Carnivore helps to get inflammation out of your body already, and then that's helping as well. And then the last thing that I started taking here more recently is the collagen active. So that, that's just a good, collagen, good for your bones and so forth. And
mm,
so that's what I do with Cerule. And, I will say, yes, I started taking it in April 2023. Sometime after that, I decided to become an IBO, which is an independent business owner. And so essentially, you sell the product as well to people and so forth. Um, so yes, I do sell that product, but I completely stand by it. I believe in um, what I've seen in my own experiences, what I've seen with other
mm.
people. Bart K is a perfect example. He had macular degeneration in his eye. His eye doctor told him, I think, that he would be considered legally blind within 5 to 10 years. It's been over 10 years now, and his eyesight is actually better. So his lens prescription is less than what it was
Yeah.
back then, and has no signs of the macular degeneration anymore.
Mm,
So those are just examples. Now, I will say that, the FDA says that you can't say that this product is going to fix this or that or anything. But I can say that those are experiences that people that take the product have noticed. And,
mm,
I gave my experience and so forth. Another thing that I didn't give about myself is that I noticed, probably, I think this was similar within a couple months of taking the product, that my head on top of my hair starts growing back in faster,
oh,
and in my mustache and beard area. So for as long as I could remember, like I would only have to shave like in the cheeks here and that, right? Because I usually keep this, but I would
yeah,
only have to shave like maybe once every 4 to 5 days for as long as I could remember. It's like every other
yeah,
day now. My head, I would go 4 to 6 weeks cutting my hair. And,
yeah,
my thing is it never really grows out a lot, but
yeah,
it would kind of get thicker and, a little bit curly because I had curly hair and that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Now it's like every 3 weeks I have to cut my hair because it's starting to
It
get
just
messed
grows.
up again. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's something. And again, like this is after having been doing carnivore for quite a while, like, a year or more. So it's not like it was just, okay, I've been doing carnivore for a couple months and carnivore caused that to happen.
Mm,
The thing that changed was within a couple months after taking Cerule products.
mm,
So for me, that points to the Cerule product, the Stem Enhance Ultra, helping with those things. If you really know and really look into what adult stem cells do, it makes perfect sense. And then, again, I feel like I'm probably like doubling it because I'm doing the carnivore diet as well, which is helping to get
mm,
rid of the inflammation and so forth in my body. So those experiences I've had with it, and um, I completely love eating the way I eat with the carnivore diet, and I completely love taking the Stem Enhance Ultra and so forth. I think it's been a game changer for me. And
mm, mm.
you look at the two things combined, and the fact that I now go and exercise more than I used to, and get out and get sunlight. Like, I didn't bring this up, but I used to be low in vitamin D,
Right.
and this past year with getting out into the sunlight, that changed.
Mm,
Like my,
mm,
my vitamin D levels are good in my blood work. And so, I look at all those things, and I just feel like even though I'm 50 years old, I probably feel better than I have in 20 to 30 years.
mm, mm. Wow. That's amazing, and a great you know uh testimonial with the Cerule products. Um, definitely. Personally, I think a product that everyone everyone will benefit from. So I think that's something worthwhile people should be looking into. So look, Brian, how can people reach you, and how can people um, contact you? I know you have a YouTube channel and you've got Instagram as well. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, just tell people what you do on social media.
Yeah, so I have the YouTube channel. I actually started it probably about this time last year, so
Ah,
maybe late March timeframe. So that's about a year now.
mm,
And my handle is Wick Goes Carnivore, but if you do the at whatever, it's at Wickivore. So
ah,
Wickivore. So sometimes people get confused and they're like, well, I tried at Wick Goes Carnivore and I can't find it. Well, just look up Wick Goes Carnivore or look up
yeah,
at Wickivore, and that's how you'll find it. So I've got that channel. I've been doing interviews on there probably since around the June of 2023 timeframe. And I don't know that I have necessarily a lot of interviews, but there's a decent amount of interviews in there.
mm,
Different people that are on the carnivore diet that I've interviewed and so forth. And then I've got lots of live streams that I've done with other people collaborating. And then I just, pick different things. I'll talk about how things are going with me on the carnivore diet, different things I've experienced, or just different things that I see, different trends, that kind of stuff.
mm,
So I typically try to put out about 3 to 4 videos a week on the YouTube channel. Then I have Instagram, and I think that's just my name, which is Brian Nowicki or Brian.Nowicki, something like that. I have Twitter, um, but that one isn't necessarily that
yeah.
great. But I'm trying to remember that one is at Coach Big Bry. So that's from my youth football coaching days.
Yeah.
And then I have a Facebook page for Wick Goes Carnivore, so you can find that, and people can follow it and so forth. And I usually post on there pretty much every day, sometimes a few times a day. I would say the YouTube channel, if you're looking for one place to find me at, that's probably the best place to find me. Along with the
Mm,
videos, I do a lot of posts, and sometimes I'll put up like a quiz thing out there, like a multiple choice question thing for people to answer, and you get a
yeah.
chance to see how well you can do there. So yeah, that those are the best ways to reach me, and yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess.
Awesome stuff. Well, hey, look, Brian, I think we'll wrap up there. And thank you again for your time. Thank you for coming on to my YouTube channel. I will post on the description of this video all your links. And guys, also, if you're interested in the Cerebral products, interested in what we've just talked about, I'll post both mine and Brian's Cerebral pages, as we're both IBOs. And you guys can both, and you guys can have a look at the web pages yourself if you would like to purchase it, or even just have a look and learn more about adult stem cells. Yeah, so any final words before we wrap up?
Just thank you for having me on your channel. And for anybody out there that's already doing the carnivore diet, you're doing the right thing. Just keep going at it, keep plugging away. Sometimes you'll notice on YouTube channels we talk a lot about the good, but remember, there is bad that happens too. There's struggles. There's times that you're
Yes.
tempted. There's times that you make a mistake and you eat something you shouldn't, and that's okay. You just get right back to it and you'll be fine. And just know that it's a process. It's not like a magic pill or something that's going to happen overnight. Some people are going to see results really quick. Some people it takes months and months to see results. Keep in mind, depending on how long you were eating a bad way, you were doing that for a long time. You were ruining your body for a long time, and it could take quite a while to heal your body. So always keep that in mind. If there's anybody out there that's watching this that has been thinking about the carnivore diet, I say give it a try. Good 60 days, and I would not be surprised if you tried it for 60 days that you would say, you know what, I feel so great that I'm just going to keep doing it.
Awesome stuff. I like those words. And yeah, I do agree. So, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for, listening in for this video. If you liked watching, please give it a big thumbs up with a like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to Brian's YouTube channel, guys. If there's something that you all need to do now, it is to subscribe to Wick Goes Carnivore on YouTube and his other social medias as well. And leave some comments down below, and I'll try and answer or get back to you as soon as I can. So I'll see you guys in the next video.